Greetings and salutations. Welcome to Knife Chats with Tobias. I guess I will chime in on the end of Victorinox as we know it. Apparently, 2023 is the end of Victorinox. It will probably cease to exist in a year or two. That's the way the drama is playing out, because apparently they discontinued 39 models and it's the end of the world. Or is it? I really don't see this as that big of a deal, and it's actually something that Victorinox has been saying is going to happen for several years now, actually. So it's really kind of getting blown out of proportion, in my opinion. Now, other people might have a different thought about it, but that's where I'm at with that. And I'm going to try and go over that. The end of the world, or the end of Victorinox as we know it, by looking at some of the patterns that were discontinued. Okay, the very first knife listed here is the Classic, and when people see that, they think of this knife here. This is actually the Classic SD. This knife is going nowhere, but the Classic is going away. Now, what you have on a Classic SD is obviously you have the small pair of scissors, and then you have the small pen blade, and then you have the nail file with the screwdriver tip. The Classic does not have the screwdriver tip. It has the nail cleaning tip on it. And as far as I know, currently the only Classic knives that are coming out of Victorinox are the ones that have the Edelweiss scales. This is actually a Classic, and you can tell the difference because, well, right there, you have the nail file with the nail cleaning tip on there. That is the difference between a Classic and a Classic SD. I talk about this all the time, and that's why I am always clear to call this the Classic SD. This knife is going away. The Classic tip on the nail file is going away. Will they retain the Edelweiss scales and put them in a Classic SD format? I don't know. But as far as I know, the only knife currently being issued as a Classic is the one in the Edelweiss covers or scales. The red one is the only one that is still existing as far as I know. They also had this in like a purple, a blue, a green, and a pink. But I think the only thing left is the red right now, and it's going away. Will the Edelweiss scales move over to the Classic SD? I don't know. But that's really what they were talking about disappearing. Now, the next couple are the Signature. This is my Signature. I got to repair it again. Just noticed that some of the epoxy broke off there. But the Signature is basically your Classic SD, except it has a pair of tweezers normally. I switched it out for a toothpick. And then it has the small ink pen over here. That is the Signature. It's going away, but apparently the Signature Light is not listed, so I'm not sure if the Signature Light disappeared earlier, or if they are just going to go and just go with the Signature Light and get rid of the Signature. The next one up is the Manager. I don't have the Manager. This is the Midnight Manager. It is the same though, and the difference being is the Manager has an ink pen, and instead of a little light, it has a pair of tweezers. But this is the Midnight Manager. So, are they getting rid of the Midnight Manager? I don't know. Have they already gotten rid of the Midnight Manager? I don't know. But the one listed is the Manager. Now, what the Manager also has on it is the same blades that you find on a Rambler. So you have the combo tool with the Phillips driver tip there, a main blade, scissors, and then the nail file with the screwdriver tip. That would be the Rambler. You just throw these special scales on it and it becomes the Manager. This is the Midnight Manager because it has the light. Now, next up is the Midnight Mini Champ. It's interesting that they're keeping it sounds like they're keeping the Mini Champ, but they're getting rid of the Midnight version. And this is the Mini Champ, and this has just about every blade imaginable in there. And what you would have with this is no tweezers on the Midnight Mini Champ, and you'd have the light that you saw on the Midnight Manager. The other blades you have on there are scissors, the little combi tool here, and then the little main blade, the little spatula, and the the orange peeler, also known as a label cutter, the emergency blade, and then the file with the nail cleaner tip. And I think I missed the blade somewhere in here. Maybe I did, maybe I didn't. But in any case, that's the Manager. I'm sorry, that's the Mini Champ. You add a light to it, and it's the Midnight Mini Champ. I don't know if they're getting rid of the Mini Champ or not, but they are getting rid of the Midnight Mini Champ. So they're kind of trimming down the line a bit. I don't know if they're getting rid of all of the knives that have the small removable pin in there or not. I hope they're not. But that's not what they're listing here as going away. They're just showing different versions of these knives. So it looks like they're getting rid of some that have lights and keeping some that have lights. So the signature light, it looks like they're keeping. The Midnight Manager they're keeping. However, the Midnight Mini Champ is going away. They're just going to have the Mini Champ. Now, the next ones are the Executive 81, Executive 81 Wood, and then just the Executive. All of those are basically the same knife. The difference being what kind of covers or scales were on there. You've got wood. I think the Executive 81 was the Evo version. All of the Evolution knives, the Evo ones, the ones that had the bumpy scales, they left in December. So that's why the Evo 81 or the Executive 81 is gone, as well as the Executive. They're just dropping them out of their line. And what those are is this. It's the old Wenger Esquire. They're dumping it. And the reason they're dumping it, this is the 65 millimeter version of a classic SD. It's just a little bit bigger. And it's basically duplicating something that's already in the system. So they're getting rid of the Executive because it's filling the role of the classic SD. So yeah, this is something that the collectors will be upset about, but for the most part, it's not selling as well as the classic SD. It's duplicating the classic SD. How many copies, of the same knife do you want to actually carry? The difference in size just isn't enough to make a difference, and the classic SD has a lot more name recognition than the Executive 81. So that's why that's going away. Now, here's my nail clip tool. This one is actually by Wenger. It's an older one. And this one I like. The one that Victorinox was making, I'm not as crazy about. And these have problems. They're not the world's greatest tools in the world. Let me see if I can get this open. This side, that side. Here we go. Here's the, come on. There's the nail clippers. They come out. Now, there's one that's just the nail clippers. The other one has the classic SD blades sort of added to it. You open it up and you got a pair of nail clippers. Decent enough nail clippers, but there's better nail clippers out there on the market. So this is more of a gimmick than anything else going on. Now this one I like. You got the scissors over here. Wenger scissors. I don't know if the scissors for the Victorinox nail clips use these scissors or if they use the nail clips that Victorinox makes. This one has the nail file with the cleaner tip, and then it also had this tool on it, which was the for eyeglasses, the little screwdriver for eyeglasses. The Victorinox version of this replaces this tool with a small small pin blade, and was never crazy about that. I found that tool useful because this comes in real handy for fishing, and it also comes in real handy if you wear eyeglasses. So this one was fun because of that, but without that, without the little screwdriver tip there, this knife just doesn't really do it for me. So I can see why they got rid of it. It just wasn't selling, and there's better nail clippers out there, let's face it. And most people would rather have a dedicated nail clippers instead of something like that. So if it's not selling, they're going to have to get rid of it. Next is the Ambassador. That's a 74 millimeter frame, classic. That's basically all it is. It's the classic SD or the classic, but on a 74 millimeter frame. So it's 3 inches long instead of 2 1/4 inches long. A lot of people always talk about liking this knife better, but it just really doesn't sell because it's the in-between size, and I don't know why. It just never really sells that well, and that's why they're dumping it. You've got a small nail file. The nail file here is the same that you find on the classic. It's that size also, and the scissors used on here are also are bigger. That's one of the things that people like, and I think a lot of people like to buy the Ambassador so that they can take the scissors out of here and put them into the 84 millimeter frames. I don't know for certain, but I think that's probably part of what it is. It's one of those knives that people use for parts. It is a good size frame. It's kind of sad that it's going away, but the reason it's going away is because, well, honestly, out there, if you're not a big Victorinox fan, did you even know the Ambassador existed? Like I said, I don't know what the mini clip A-Lox is. I can't find it anywhere online. I'm guessing it's this knife, but with I don't know. I really don't know what it is. So I guess that's why it's going away too. If you don't know what it is, why have it around? That brings us over to the Walker, though, and I do have a Walker here somewhere. Is this it? Yeah, this is the Walker. It's kind of a cool one. It's an 84 millimeter frame. You've got the blade here, the spear blade. You have the combo tool on the other side over here, and then up front you have a wood saw. So those are the blades that came on the Walker. I think it's a really handy knife, but apparently I'm in a minority here, so that's probably why it's going away. It's nice and slim. It was just a 2-layer knife, and you had a wood saw on it, so that was pretty cool. But it's gone, and it was 84 millimeter. That one I'm going to hate to see go, but it's gone, and I can understand why also. It just wasn't selling. All right, I'm not familiar with the Excelsior. Okay, I need to interrupt my ramble for a second because I actually do know what the Excelsior is, and that is a pocket pal with a key ring. Specifically now, since 2017, it has been the Pocket Pal with the key ring and red Celador scales. That is the Excelsior. I always thought of it as a Pocket Pal with a key ring, but apparently it has an official name, which is Excelsior. It has had other names in the past, one of them being Popular. I have the red Alox version of a Popular, notice, key ring, otherwise Pocket Pal. Big blade, little blade, 84 millimeter frame. So that is what was discontinued. The Pocket Pal with the key ring, the Excelsior. It came back in 2017. It is now out of the lineup again. It'll probably come back again in the near future. That's what happens with the Pocket Pal with the key ring. It goes in and out of production. I'm going to try and cover all three of these, the Tourist, the Sportsman without key ring, and the Tinker Small all together, by showing the only one I have of the group, which is a Tinker Small, and this is an older Tinker Small. And what you have with the Tinker Small is, you've got your main blade, small blade. This is an older one, so it's got the clip blade there. And then your cap lifter, screwdriver, and your bottle opener, and then reamer. And if this was a Tourist, I believe it would have I think the Tourist is the one that has the Phillips driver, but instead of a clip blade, it has a nail file. And the Sportsman has a corkscrew, and would be like this without the key ring. But they're going to keep the Sportsman with the key ring. So you'll find this knife with a Phillips driver. I mean, with a corkscrew, if they're still making it. I don't know if they're making the Sportsman already, and they're going to continue to make it. And I can see how a couple people would be upset with the Sportsman leaving without the key ring. But the thing is it's basically a small version of the Spartan. And there are knives in the that came over from the Wenger lineup that sell better than the Sportsmans do. So I'm not seeing a whole lot of 85 millimeter frames disappearing right now. What I saw were the 85 millimeter frames with the Evo scales have disappeared. So, for example, here's an 85 millimeter Wenger knife, and here is the Tinker in 84 millimeters, about the same size of knife and everything, similar blade layouts and everything else on there. This is, I believe this is a Commander, or it was a Commander at one time. It has a nail file back here. And that, I think, is similar to what the Tourist is, but it would be now in the Victorinox Delamont line. Same with this knife here, except the Evo scales would be gone, but otherwise same knife with a nail file. They also make this same knife in 85 millimeters with a small blade. So those kind of take the place of the Tinker. This knife comes with all the different versions that basically that your Spartan and Tinker have, but in the 85 millimeter lineup. And I don't believe those are going anywhere. It's the 84 millimeter lineup that is getting hit a little bit right now with the small Tinker, the Tourist, and so on and so forth, because there's something else already being made that sells better in 85 millimeter. So, and this is something Victorinox was talking about a long time ago, that they're going to get rid of duplicate patterns from the Delamont line and the Victorinox line. And so that's what they're working on here. Now these next two, They look surprising at first. The Camper and the Ranger going away. These are 91 millimeter knives. You have the Camper here, which has the corkscrew, and it has the wood saw, and it's a very popular knife. Why in the world would they get rid of the Camper? Well, they're not getting rid of the Camper. What they're getting rid of is the embellishment on the Camper. It's no longer going to say camping on there. And the same thing with the Ranger. The Ranger is also a very popular pattern or popular model. They're not getting rid of the Ranger. They're getting rid of the Ranger that says camping on there. So that's the difference between what's listed here and such. It isn't that they're getting rid of this entire knife. They're just getting rid of the scale that reads camping. So it's not the end of the world for all those campers out there and all those Ranger fans out there. What it has basically done, it has just made the ones that have the camping stamped into the scale a little more collectible. I think this is a hiker. Yeah. Hiker has a Phillips driver on the back, and then it has the wood saw. So basically a camper, but with a Phillips driver on the back. And again, they're not getting rid of the hiker. They're getting rid of the hiker wood. There's some of these hikers out there that have wood covers on them. Those are going away. Swiss Champ XLT, that's one of those big, thick 8-layer knives or 9-layer knives. They're getting rid of it. It just doesn't sell well. It's probably main reason they're getting rid of that. They have other Swiss Champs out there that they're not getting rid of. They're just getting rid of a specific XLT. This is what a Swiss Champ looks like. I think that's what this one is, a Swiss Champ. Once you start getting up into that many layers, I mean, I can see why. Well, they're just not that popular. They're heavy. They don't sell that well. And they're getting rid of one of a specific model of Swiss Champ, the XLT. Why? It's just not selling. And the Cyber Tools S and Cyber Tools Lite are two specific versions of the Cyber Tool. These are the Victorinox models that have a bunch of little torque bits in them and everything. I don't know if they're getting rid of every Cyber Tool model or just those two. I don't know if they've already gotten rid of the older ones. This is something that I've never really looked into or thought about picking up or anything. I know the Cyber Tools Lite is a version that has a little light on it, the little LED light, but most of them have a little swing out arm and then a bunch of little torque bits that are easy to get lost, from what I understand. So that might be why they are discontinuing those two models. Next up is basically we're moving into the world of 111 millimeter and the 130 millimeter knives. Now, Sentinel, Alpinair MW Grip, Adventurer, Trailmaster, Locksmith, and Hercules. All of these are 111 millimeter Victorinox knives. The Hercules is a really big one with lots and lots of tools on them. The Locksmith has a specific tool used for picking locks. And then two of these, the Trailmaster and Alpinair with MW grips. What they're talking about with the MW grips are the ones like this. So they're getting rid of the Trailmaster with this type of grip, and they're just going back to the standard grip on it, which is the standard nylon grip. They're not getting rid of the Trailmaster with nylon grips. They're getting the ones with the MW or the dual nylon or something like that. They have different kinds of grips on them. Same with the Ranger grips. Those are a specific kind of grip. This is very similar to the Trailmaster. It's a Trekker. Well, this particular one is actually the Swiss Army knife or the Swiss soldier's knife. But that's what they're going with. They're going with the one-hand opening blade on all of these knives with the lock back. They have already gotten rid of the slide locks a long time ago and went with liner locks on the main blades of these knives a while back. I think the Adventurer and the Alpinier use the old two-handed opening blades. They might be the last knives with those blades. The Sentinel is a one-layer knife with no back tools. The Alpinier is a one-layer knife with a corkscrew. The Adventurer has 2 layers, so the can opener, cap lifter, and then on the back side the Phillips driver and the awl. So the Adventurer is in direct competition with the Tinker, so that's probably why it's gone. And the Sentinel and Alpinier, well, they're in competition with the Hunter Pro and the A-Lock Solo, so I think that's why they're gone. There's just too much competition within the company for a single layer locking knife. Matter of fact, in the industry in general. So that's what's going away. I'm kind of sad to see that happening, but I can also understand it. It's just not as popular as the other knives. Now, all these Rangers, well, those are all 130 millimeter knives, and they're getting rid of a lot of those. The big one that I see a lot of people talking about are the Gardeners, and those are the ones with the swing out scissors that folded out of the handle. I do not have any of the Ranger grip knives. It's basically this large, though. It's 130 millimeters long, and it is the same, almost exactly the same size frame as what you have with the Pro Hunter or the Hunter Pro. And I think that's why they're getting rid of a lot of these Rangers. They're just not selling as well as the Hunter Pro, and they're competing against the Hunter Pro. And the fact that they have the same kind of knife that they're competing against in the 111 millimeter lineup is another reason that they would be getting rid of. These are 4 3/8 of an inches long. These are around 5 inches long, or 5 1/4 inches long, something like that. And you have the Hunter Pro going on. Now this is the particular Hunter Pro in Alox Red. This is the one that they're getting rid of. I think I know why they're getting rid of it, and it's probably because of the Hunter Pro has turned into the third knife in their annual Alox release, and so I got a feeling the red Hunter Pro Alox is going to be introduced as one of the knives in there. So they're not getting rid of the silver handled Hunter Pro Alox, and they're not getting rid of the Hunter Pros that are not in Alox. They're just getting rid of one particular knife in that lineup. So that's what you got to look at, that they're just getting rid of one. And the other thing with the Hunter Pro Alox Red is it has the two-hand opening blade. They're going with Hunter Pros that have the one-hand opening or a hole in the blade. So that's what's going on with that. So at least that's as far as I can tell. And you'll probably see this show up in their annual releases in the future, probably in red. I don't know what the Heikenmesser is, or Heikenmesser, or whatever it is. I tried looking it up, and it showed up as a gardening tool, a gardener's hawkbill blade. And like I said, I've already mentioned the Executive before. So that's kind of the rundown of what's there. The odd thing is I was told 39 knives. This list only showed 37. Maybe there's 2 other knives out there that people are aware of that are disappearing. Otherwise, I'm thinking it might be that people were thinking camper camping, ranger camping. I don't know. Maybe that's what they're talking about. Or it might be something else that's going on that I'm unaware of. Or the fact that nail clip, there's 2 different versions of a nail clip knife, and they have different numbers. So maybe they're looking at both of the nail clip knives. But whatever it is, Yeah, it's quite a few frames that are disappearing, but at the same time, there are other knives within the Victorinox family that replicate knives that are disappearing in this list. And that's what Victorinox said when they went to Victorinox Delamont, is that they would be slimming this down over the next few years as they determine which pattern sold better. So I can see how the 84 millimeters took a hit. I can see why the 85 millimeter and the Evo grips, or all of the Evo grips, disappeared. They just didn't sell as well as just a regular plain scale. I can see why the Ambassador is going away. They're just not big sellers, and there is something else that is being replicated within the line. The Ambassador is definitely replicated by the Classic SD. So I know it's smaller and it's not what people wanted to see, but that's what happens. And other things just don't sell that well, like the Cyber Tools. But there's probably other Cyber Tool models still around. So, in any case, that's what I think about it. It is not the end of the world. It is not anywhere near the end of Victorinox. If anything, it is just a wise move by a company that is looking at increasing profits so that they can continue to stick around. You have to dump the models that aren't being profitable, and they're not in the business of selling knives for collectors. They're in the business of selling knives for consumers. So this is what happens. I think it's a very smart business decision to get rid of duplicate versions of the same knife. In any case, that's my thought. That's where I'm at with this, and hope you enjoyed this. I know it's a bit of a ramble and a little bit long, and unfortunately, I do not have every version that is being removed from the collection, but quite frankly, there's several of the knives that are being removed from the collection that I can happily live without having them in my collection. Anyway, with that said, I will let you go.
Let me take just a second to thank you once again for dropping by and spending a few minutes here at Knife Chats with Tobias. I really do appreciate it, and I do appreciate any comments that you leave. So please remember to give me that thumbs up, and also don't forget to subscribe and ring that notification bell so you'll know when the next episode is up and running. Thanks again for dropping by. Really do appreciate your time here.